A lot can happen in 9 months, as you can see. No deer pin up on the hill. Ruby, our German short-haired pointer, was still getting out and going for her daily run, which means she was pretty skinny at the time. I still had my 4th gen Dodge truck, and the sawmill still didn't work quite as well as I wish it did. What are you doing, Willie? What are you doing, Willie? All right, in spite of everything else that we have going on around here today, I still have other things I have to get done. I haven't piled up any firewood, although I have 3 or 4 piles around the property like I always do. I have some piles that have been sitting there for 2, 3, 4 years, seasoning, getting ready. None of it's down here by the house, so I got to get firewood down here. I've also, I want to get the sawmill, the little sawmill I built years ago. I want to make a few little changes to it so it's more dependable, it's safer to use. But today I'm going to take the skid steer up and try and safely bring the power head down to the shop where I can work on that power head, make the changes to the bandsaw. I want that sawmill to be as dependable as it can be, so when I start back on that 8-sided cabin, I don't have to fight the little stuff. You know, the thing that happens around here is I have to do 4 other things to accomplish the original goal, and part of that's because there just needs to be some improvement in a few areas, and the sawmill is one of those things that I could use on a weekly basis if I could depend on that bandsaw mill. So step 1 is to get that thing down here, and bringing that bandsaw sawmill down here will allow me to be close by and again accomplish another one of these things that needs to be checked off the list. So step 1 is to get it down here. I built this sawmill on the driveway in the rental house that we first moved into when we relocated from Queen Creek, Arizona to southeastern Idaho. So I'm a little bit sentimental about this bandsaw, but it's always had a few little issues that I think with some reinforcement and some bracing, it should run a lot better. So my goal for today is to try and get these issues resolved. one of the first things I did was I added this 5-gallon water tank to it that should keep that blade quite a bit cooler. I just use zip ties until I figure out, as I move the head up and down, what the best way is to do this. Put this handle on the back side that can actually flop from either side depending on which side I'm cutting from. And the idea is that I'll be able to stand out here instead of standing back here walking along the tracks like I've done in the past. Then I installed that throttle with the same theory that I don't have to stand in front of the cutting head to run the throttle up. So I'm not sure if that throttle is the right throttle. I also use zip ties just to kind of hold it in place. But I'm on the way. I may have to find a different throttle that comes around the back. I would love to have the throttle right there on that handle if that was possible. But the bottom line is I've got everything kind of fine-tuned and ready to go back up to the track. But I want to start the engine, make sure it's running good before I take it up there, and then I want to go cut some wood. I think that 420cc engine is something around a 15 horsepower, and I actually have a 26 horsepower Honda engine sitting in my shop that I could put on this, but I think I'm going to build a whole new frame that's a lot more heavy duty before I put that other engine on it, and that's not going to happen anytime soon. So I'm going to make this work for as long as I can. This again, I'm sentimental about everything these days, but I built this bandsaw mill in the front yard of the house that we first lived in when we moved here, and they tore that house down last year. So I don't know, I'm kind of into the idea of making things last, making things work as long as I can before I start replacing stuff. But one of these days I'm going to build a big power head for this sawmill that can cut some serious wood. But now that I've added this cooling system to the blade, I'm really curious to see what this is going to do when I start cutting into some of those bigger logs. So we're ready to take it up and see how she cuts. The blade that was on it is a little bit too dull for the wood I'm trying to cut now, so I need to change the blades out. I got a dull blade. I'm going to change that blade out and run it through again and see if it gets any better. This is the blade I was using last year And I was trying not to jump to a new blade just so quick, but I'm gonna switch it out. I've got a few extra blades and see what happens because I'm getting the wavy. The new saw blade cuts much better than the old dull one, that's for sure. This was last week, so Zach from Stokes Drilling had an update for me on the progress of the well as I was playing around with the band sawmill. Still a few things I can see to change to make it a little bit safer. I need to figure out how to get the guards back on it, but that's the best that's ever cut. I found those blades on eBay. I think I paid I think I bought 5 blades for a little over $100, and they're just kind of disposable blades. There are some of these blades that you can resharpen, but I have found that it's probably just easier just to have these throwaway blades on hand. But I'm going to put some thought into this. I want to make the track longer so I can cut some real long logs, but I'm getting excited again to get on that little cabin. I really want to get that cabin. That cabin was kicking my butt. Because using the angle grinder would make my elbows numb. Running that chainsaw the way that I was making my elbows numb. So I'm going to figure out how to do this in a more efficient manner and get that thing finished before, hopefully before it gets too crazy cold. But fun stuff. I probably have less than, I don't know, $700 tied up in this sawmill, maybe $800 with the track. So it feels good to get a win out of this thing. I fought this thing quite a bit last year, so. When Cedar and I owned our plumbing company and we went through the 2008, 9, 10 recession, it taught me some pretty valuable lessons. One of those lessons was we didn't want to have a mortgage again if we could help it. So far we've been able to accomplish that here at Red Poppy Ranch, but there's always an expense somewhere around here. But that doesn't mean I still can't do some of these things that I know in the long run are going to improve our property. Planting these aspen trees is one of those things. If you remember from a few videos back, I dug these aspen trees up from the far corner of our property. These aspen trees are pretty easy to propagate, especially if you have the root cutting, and there's a good chance that the tree that's attached to these root cuttings may not survive, but the root itself will. The cows that are supposed to be up on the range on public land right now like to wander up and down our road because, again, the fence line that's supposed to be maintained by the Cattlemen's Association has not been maintained in years. So this is what our front yard right here is up against. The cows like to walk along our fence line and eat the grass, so these trees will have to be able to tolerate a little bit of abuse from the cows, I'm sure. As I said earlier, there's a high likelihood that the actual tree attached to the root cutting will die, but next spring another aspen tree or 2 or 3 should come up in its place. But I'm going to try and see if these trees can make it the way they are. The quaking aspen tree to me is one of the single most important trees that grows in nature. It's referred to as a keystone species and it provides life for so many different animals, and the idea of having these quaking aspen trees growing right out here in our front yard just simply puts a smile on my face, especially because they didn't cost us any money. I also mentioned this a few weeks ago, but you have to be kind of careful where you plant these trees because the root systems are known to get into sewer and water lines and do some damage. Cedar and I are going to continue to water these quakies and do our best to keep them alive, but the trees are going to go through some shock, and it's going to be interesting to see how they manage winter. I would end up planting somewhere between 40 and 60 of these quaking aspen tree root cuttings all the way across the front of our property. And again, as long as that root cutting gets some water, they'll reproduce trees. So hopefully next spring and early summer we start to see what an investment of a little bit of time should turn into. And maybe 10 years from now, the entire front of our property is lined with aspen trees. Willie, you're not helping things, buddy. You want some apples too? Let's put some apples in there. Here. Easy. So I believe there's something like 43 different deer species, and native to North America, I think it's only whitetail, blacktail, and mule deer that are native. The whitetail and the mule deer, they can crossbreed. Even as long as it's been since these deer have been wild, I don't even know how many generations. It has probably hundreds of generations since these guys have been wild. I think at this moment, the last wild fallow deer are found in the mountains of Turkey. But even in North America, there's always been little herds of fallow deer. I think they've pretty much got them knocked down now. But back in, I think, Ohio and Pennsylvania, places like that, there were fallow deer that would get loose, and they never quite took off because, I would assume because they just got hunted. But in England, in the UK, and places in Europe, there are wild fallow deer herds. In New Zealand, same thing. So since I turned them out, they're definitely more keyed up than they would be down in that front pen. But it doesn't bother me. That's just kind of what I think they're excited. They're also just part of being up here on the side of this mountain, is they're just trying to get used to what's going on. They haven't hardly touched their alfalfa. I think that's the second bale that I've given them, and it's been nearly a week now since I turned them out. And they're not hardly touching it. They would rather forage and look for the weeds and the different things that they like over the alfalfa. But and I can tell that their feet have worn down since I turned them out. So they're starting to wear back down where they should be. The thing that's going to push the deer back down in the lower pen is going to be snow, and it's going to be the lack of feed ultimately. So I'm going to keep them up here as long as they want to be up here, frankly. And as long as there's feed, for them to eat. So I'm going to keep watching the hay feeder, and as they start to eat the hay down, that's going to be an indication that there's less and less feed up here. But next year's really going to be fun to watch, because all of the weeds that had a chance to grow this summer shouldn't get a chance to grow next summer. I'm going to turn them out as soon as it's dry enough to turn them out, which should be around May. And that means all of these weeds that have had a chance to grow up, they won't get a chance to grow up, hopefully. So whenever I get on the side-by-side and go somewhere, Willie thinks he needs to go with me. And come on, let's go. And the deer are used to him, but still they don't like having him around too much. A couple of nights ago, with the crazy blood moon that we've had, the coyotes have been ripping all around us up here, and I think that's got the deer a little bit keyed up too. But they already look better. They already look like they're 47. She's the one I kind of gauge everything by. She was getting real skinny because I think she was nursing 2 or 3 fawns still, even though the fawns are old enough that they shouldn't be nursing. She still lets them nurse when they want to nurse, and she was real skinny, and I can tell she's just in the last few days she's put a little bit of weight on. So they all look good. They were all covered in the burrs that we have all over. They were all covered in the burrs for a couple of days, but it looks like they're all shaking them off. And it's fun for me to get up close and personal with these guys and just kind of learn their behavior and to watch nature happen. Like I said, it's been a long time since these guys were wild anywhere, and yet they still act like wild deer. Their behavior is deer behavior. So, right, Willie? Willie, come here. Get up. Come on. Willie thinks he's supposed to treat these deer like I let him treat the cows that come on our property, and he's got to understand that he can't chase our deer the way he chases cows. Right, Willie? Right, Willie? Look at me, Willie. Hey, shh, Willie. Come on, buddy. I know.